Hey folks, before we start this video, I just wanted to say that you should really stay tuned over on my Instagram over the next week or so, because I may have something lined up for you with regards to the Haute Route multi-day cycling events. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, yeah, keep an eye on Instagram, maybe something that interests you. Okay, so we've got Mont Ventoux coming up this weekend, actually. Yeah, the big one. Well, I say the big one. I mean, it was a little bit of a last-minute thing, heading out to Mont Ventoux and doing the Grand Fondo. That's what we're there for, actually, is to participate in this 120-kilometer Grand Fondo, which finishes at the top of Mont Ventoux. Today, though, I'm out with Steve, and we're actually on a big effort here at Llangynidr Mountain.
Chase a car.
Indeed, I am chasing a car up this climb, but no, in all seriousness, I never got anywhere near it, so you can't flag my ride on Strava, or please don't. So we, I mean, we had a huge tailwind up here. More on Mont Ventoux in a second. We had a huge tailwind up here, so I think taking the KOM was like pretty much a safe bet. I wanted to do an effort that was not as long as the types of efforts I was doing for Cyclist, so that being 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I wanted to do something shorter but something harder, and given that I went to meet Steve and the opportunity presented itself, I thought, well, why not? This climb, I have history with this climb. I did it way back at the Junior Tour of Wales about 12 years ago when I was about 17 or 18 years old, and it was where I first discovered my my ability as a climber. But not necessarily as a climber. I just discovered my ability to be a good cyclist, a good racing cyclist, and racing against my peers, obviously the same age, at the Junior Tour of Wales, and I pulled out my first good result, which then propelled me to finish third overall at that stage race, which at the time, that race, I think it was heavily advantageous to be a climber, or at least be a strong all-rounder, which I think I was, and then it's what allowed me to get noticed, get selected to be on the GB cycling team. But I didn't go to the World Championships, the Junior World Championships that year. I missed out on selection. I was first reserve, but then I did subsequently turn pro for what was then Raverack GLT. And travelled the world, raced my bike, and lived the dream, essentially. So that was the beginning. This climb does bring back a lot of good memories, probably more so than the Tumble does. And there's no hill climbs on this climb, Llangynidr. There is obviously on the Tumble, so Welsh Hill Climb Championships has been there the last couple of years. But I prefer Llangynidr. If you're a Welsh, particularly a Welsh cyclist living in South Wales, you don't have to be Welsh, of course, but I prefer Llangynidr over the Tumble. There's more going on the climb, and it's just, I think, generally a nicer climb. It's not a savage, and it has a few corners, and it has a little descent, and there's always something going on. So it's like 5.5 kilometers at about 7% average, and you can tell by my average speed was about 24 kilometers an hour, and that's fairly fast for a gradient that's actually fairly steep. But again, we had a massive tailwind, so I decided to use this video as a bit of an update video, but also air some of my thoughts before going to Ventoux, to Provence, to the south of France. It's my first time there, of course. I know the history. I know how big of a part it's played in the history of the sport, and I'm very, very excited to go there and ride the climb myself. I've had a few messages from people telling me I should definitely do like a couple of different rides while I'm there, but unfortunately it's a hit and run. Like, I'm going in and I'm doing the event and then I'm coming out. Sadly, I won't be there long enough to do, you know, any sort of substantial rides other than the Gran Fondo, which is on the Sunday. But I put a couple of posts out to see if there was anybody in the area at the time, which is a long shot, that would potentially be available to do a bit of a lead out into the bottom of the Bedouin side of Ventoux the day after the Gran Fondo, or the morning after, if I was in the right headspace and like not too jacked up and not too wrecked from the day before doing the Gran Fondo. I would try and go full send up Mont Ventoux from the Bedouin side. This has kind of obviously been in my head for a little while, ever since going to Saclobra and what have you, but it's probably less important than the Gran Fondo itself. The Gran Fondo is obviously what I'm there to do, and it's you know, it's essentially a 120 kilometer. I'm not going to call it a race, but you understand how it goes. It's going to be, you know, there's going to be a group of fast riders going off at the start, so I kind of want to be in the mix and then see what I can do at the end of it. And I've actually never ever raced an event, whether you want to call it a race or not, where we've actually finished up a climb as big as that. So I kind of want to give it, you know, a decent go, and so preparation, that's why the videos have been a little bit sort of, you know, less consistent. You know, maybe once every 4 or 5 days, yeah, but like not as like consistent as I'd like them to be over the last couple of weeks. And so I've focused more on just like getting down to business and doing what I need to do on the bike. And it's actually showed. Last week I did a couple of big rides. I did a bit of a simulation workout where I did a couple of fatiguing efforts in the first couple of hours of my ride before going out and doing 1 hour effort, or I was actually a Strava segment that was an hour long that we use locally to see, you know, who can go as fast over this 40 kilometer segment. And yeah, I had a really good ride at that, really good workout, and then I backed it up with a couple of big days back to back, some endurance rides, and then, you know, I did that video of the time trial where I managed to pull out like 5.9 watts per kilograms for 55 minutes. So things are obviously in the ballpark. That actual time trial, I didn't mention it in the video, but it was the best power that I've ever done over that specific time period. I've come close. I've done a couple of time trials where I've done an hour at about 10 watts less, and I've done a couple of time trials where they've finished like 45 minutes, 40 minutes at a little bit higher power. So it fills a gap a little bit in my power curve, and I was quite surprised that it did trump well, all efforts that I've ever done over the last 15 years, actually, by a couple of watts. And to be honest, I'll take a couple of watts over at this level. You know, I'm searching for watts here and there, and it's good to see that progression is still there, even if it's you know, small margins. So so things have been going well. So in terms of what I do on Ventoux, you know, the actual Gran Fondo, I am going to try and, you know, be competitive, and I'll see how the day plays out. And obviously I want to finish well, and that will require, you know, pacing myself up onto the last, obviously in the last 20 kilometers. The event is about 120 kilometers. So I'll have 100 kilometers of riding with a group and through and off and things like that potentially, and then get into the last 20k and then trying to settle in, and there won't be much in the way of drafting, of course, but maybe if we can stay with 1 or 2, 3 riders, then that would still be advantageous. If there's a headwind or crosswind or anything like that. Bearing in mind, I'm open to anyone that's ridden there. I'm open to any advice from people who have it about the nature of the mountain, which direction you think the wind, which direction is the best direction for the wind to be, in terms of it being able to make the climb a little bit less of a slog. I know that's really hard to say, but of course the heat and things, and that's why I've been doing a little bit of heat adaptation stuff indoors, which I need to talk about further down the line, because I think I'll still probably keep doing it every now and again. And then in terms of like, if I do find the time and the energy to go and like try for the KOM, well, not the KOM, but you know what I mean, the segment, because bearing in mind it's where a race has been. Ventoux is not a place where potentially people go and test themselves. It's not a place where people do a time trial. It's generally where a race has gone up. The Tour de France, of course, the Ventoux Challenge, the early season races, and of course GCN with their team of climbers. Essentially they also had a team, or not a team, but they had riders around them, or riders around a protected rider, of course, around Andy, and they had a motorbike as well. And so if I'm to do it, I won't have a motorbike, or at least I've tried getting one, but I haven't been able to get someone to film, and I've not been successful getting people to help, mainly because of the day that it falls on, and unfortunately I can't choose any other day because I'm just tied to that. But it doesn't matter if I still feel good and things fall in place, and I'm not too cooked, like I said, after that Gran Fondo, then maybe that's something to look forward to on the Monday morning. I might not be firing on all cylinders because I might still be tired, of course, but better to try than not try at all, potentially, if I never ever get a chance to go back. So we will see what happens. Of course, if it's raining, or if there's a headwind or something, then we'll knock it on the head, and we'll factor it in for another time or something. But if the opportunity presents itself, then why not? But yeah, I can't really think of anything else I need to update you on, other than like, it's another mini series. You'll obviously get a video from the Gran Fondo day. You'll get, if we get a chance to, even if we don't go up Ventoux the following day for this, Strava effort, purely Strava effort, then I'll try and get out and do a ride that shows you a local area a little bit. I'll still be creating content while I'm there, around the performance and the event itself, so just have something to look forward to, of course. I hope so anyway. But yeah, thanks for staying patient between these, I'm being honest, like, when I want to produce like videos, more often than not, I'm like tied between, do I try and train and put more effort into my training and preparation and the work side of things on and off the bike, and then how can I blend the videos in with that. So sometimes it's difficult to get what I want to get across, but thanks for staying patient, and thanks for tuning into the videos that you want to see and you find interesting. And of course, every now and again when we go out and do these specials, like go out and do these events, or like go to a different place and bring you along as well, then it doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. Like, I don't have to be successful in the event, or don't have to be bringing you the fastest ever this, or the quickest ever that. It's also reminding myself that sometimes you just want to come along for the experience of riding or seeing a new place. And yeah, that's what I keep reminding myself between these special days out or special trips. So yeah, and there we are. There's the top of Llangynidr. Like I said, it's a favourite of mine over the Tumble. It's got everything, and I hope you like this interesting camera angle as well. I know it's a little bit different playing around with it, but it's the Insta360 Go underneath, and it's capturing 360 camera, which could be useful for Ventoux maybe. Let me know in the comments down below. But that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a cracking time with your own training, with your own goals, and I will see you in the next video very soon.